Welcome, everyone, and thanks for being here tonight. We have really loved working on this music, this program in particular, and often found ourselves moved to tears at some of the text, and especially the way the composers have set these texts. We hope that you will find some meaning in it as well, like we have. I would like to thank all of our seasoned donors. Your names are listed in the program. We could not do this without you. Might not look like it, but it's an expensive endeavor. And especially our two sponsors for this evening's concert, Ronald Robbins from Munster, Indiana, a good friend of the Chamber Singers for many years, and also the Klug family, who is sponsoring our concert in Goshen. In the program, you can see next year's programs. We have 3 concerts next year. And if you'd like to consider sponsoring one of those, we would be most grateful. We'll send out our usual fundraising letter in September. We hope tonight that our diction will be clear. We're doing our best. But the texts are especially important in tonight's concert. So every word we'll be singing is in the program, in English and Spanish, if you'd like to follow along with either. So please feel free to do that. There's also a program note that gives some background on each piece. And I think you'll find that interesting too, especially in the set of pieces called erasure songs. You might wonder, what is an erasure song? But the program note tells you. It's, and let me tell you a little bit too, in case you haven't had a chance to look at it. The N400 erasure songs, they were originally written for a male professional chorus called cantus, and it was written for tenor, tenor, bass, bass. And I heard these songs performed 2 summers ago in Valparaiso by them, and they gave a beautiful program, as always, but these pieces just stood out to me. I thought they were great. The composer is Melissa Dunphy. She's an Australian-American composer. And so when I decided I wanted to do a concert on the theme of immigration, really sort of from the immigrant's standpoint, I remembered those pieces. And I looked at them. I thought maybe they were SATB, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, because cantus has countertenors, and they often sing that repertoire as well. But they were not. And so I contacted Melissa Dunphy, and she agreed, with cantus's approval, to make this SATB arrangement. So you're going to hear that for the first time tonight. But the first 2 pieces are what are called, the text comes from erasure poetry. And you can see an example of that in your program. She asked two different poets to take the N400, which is an immigration form that every immigrant has to fill out, no matter where they're coming from. And they blacked out certain words from in that form. And then what was left becomes the new text, or the text of the pieces. And I think they're great pieces. I also wanted to mention that because we're focusing on this important topic, we wanted to focus on 2 organizations in our community that offer help to the immigrant community and support them. So tonight, any donations will go toward La Casa de Amistad. On page 23 in your program, you can read about that group, and there's a QR code in there that you can use to make a donation, or you can leave cash or checks at the basket in the back. In 2 weeks, we're giving this concert again on May 31st in Goshen. So I hope if you like it tonight, you'll encourage any friends you have in Goshen to consider coming out for that. And that concert will support Maple City Health Center. And their QR code is in the back as well. So thank you for coming. I know it's such a busy weekend with all the commencements and all the end of the year stuff. You probably think, what do I want to go to one more concert? But I think you'll be glad you came to this one, and I hope you appreciate this music as much as we have. So, Crossing Borders, Songs of the Immigrant.
Notice any immigration. Notice hearing. Notice see. Notice any immigration. Notice hearing. Notice see. Notice you. Notice you. Notice you. Notice you. Notice fingerprints. Displays of colors are permitted. Imprints are all of the above. Imprints are all of the above. Imprints are all of the above. Oh, that is a process delay. A process to the immigrant. Process.
Good evening. I'd like to bring up a special guest tonight, Dara Marquez, who is the Director of Community Engagement with La Casa de Amistad. So I'd love to have Dara explain a little bit more about the great organization that we are highlighting tonight and their mission and how we can help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the South Bend Chamber singers here. Can we give them another round of applause, please? Thank you so much. In the reflection of the N400 erasure songs, there was the yes and no chorus that really impacted the answers yes and no, yes and no. At La Casa de Amistad, one of our adult program classes is citizenship. We meet for 10 weeks, either in the spring and the fall, and for a few weeks in the summer. And there is a portion where we do mock interviews, and it's often a yes or no question. And in those interactions with volunteers and students, it's often very natural and inevitable to have those conversations where we continue to be reminded as neighbors, as humans, how difficult it is first to have made the decision to leave your home, to have sacrificed and left your home and have created a new one all from zero here in the United States or wherever life takes us. And then the other is how much more of a challenge it has been to allow ourselves to be a part of this community here in South Bend and in the region. Nevertheless, we have, and very thankful for the opportunity to be in this space and to be able to hear through the art of music what it means to really be a neighbor and to have a community of immigrants that continue to thrive here in the United States. So as La Casa de Amistad, I know that we shared our mission on page 23. And in general, we've been around for about 50 years now, and we're celebrating our 51st this year. We started off as a safe space for migrant teenagers and migrant children and their families. And the signs of our times continue to transform us as they have been in these past few months, more than anything. So thank you so much for the opportunity again to share about La Casa today and to continue to be present in our community throughout the year. So thank you again, and I will be around.
I will ask you to please hold any applause until the end of the Mass that we are about to sing. Thank you.
My name is Guadalupe, and I want you to know my story. My story is about danger and even terror, but also a small taste of triumph. I want you to know my story because it is not just my story, but it is the story of so many of my people who have risked everything to escape from crushing poverty. And not just my people, but immigrants from all over the world, my ancestors and yours, who simply want, more than anything, a chance to be what they believe they can be. For most of us, one terrifying border crossing is one too many. But as my life unfolded in a small old Mexico village, It would become my destiny to survive 2 crossings in my struggle to become an American citizen. It is that familiar story of a drunken, unpredictable father. My mother, Carmen, tried to protect my brother, Sal, and me and herself, but it was hard. The year I turned 8 was the year my mother took Sal and me, and we ran. For years, we barely made it, living in a relative's dark shed. Poor, yes, but free from dread, at least for the moment. In time, my father begged to rejoin our family. He promised to change his behavior and stop gambling. And he kept his promises for a time before it all started again, only worse. In the end, he abandoned us with all his gambling debts, and we lost everything. Now destitute, visions of a land of opportunity and hope seemed to linger just over the horizon, offering sanctuary. We felt it deep in our souls, in spite of horrifying stories we had heard. We knew the time had come to find a coyote, you know, a smuggler, and try to escape to America. Brave Sal, now 15, crossed first. He suffered extreme hunger, thirst, and fatigue. But luckily, he made it past the border with no problem. The journey would not be so easy for my mama and me. We endured a grueling 3-day bus trip, a rat-infested motel room with 23 others, and truck rides that jarred our bones. But the most painful of all was the walking, always at night, no food, and very little water. We hid in farm outbuildings for short rests, hoping against hope the farmers wouldn't discover us. Mama began to fail and feared she wouldn't make it. I helped to support her and urged her on, reminding her of our dreams. Some could walk no more on their blistered feet and simply stayed there in the country, gradually fading into the distance. I never knew their fate. The rest of us sneaked through a town, scrambling to hide at the sight of anyone. Only 8 made it through and were crammed into the back seat and trunk of a car, driving for hours until suddenly the driver spotted a checkpoint. He switched gears and raced backwards for a few miles before dumping us out to begin another long, agonizing walk. We were now 4 days into our odyssey. Now, another town, another barn, and another pair of coyotes who drank until they passed out. We devoured what little food and water we could find in the room. At dark, we shook the drivers awake and piled into a truck for the 4-hour trip to California. At last, exhausted, feet-blooded, insect-beaten, starved, and thirsty, we were actually in America, and our reunion with Sal was pure joy.
It's
My aunt and her family shared their studio apartment with us. For 2 long years, 7 people crowded together in that one small room, sleeping anywhere we could find a spot. Hard work and high hopes kept us going. We worked long days for little pay, but we managed to save some here and there. We found better jobs and were promoted. Sal found a job at a restaurant and eventually became top chef. I passed my GED and wanted to go to college, but being undocumented, I couldn't. But then I fell in love with the dashing Diego, married and had 2 sons. Once Diego achieved citizenship, he hired a lawyer to petition for mine. During this time, I got into college by learning to avoid legality issues. Life seemed good then.
Die resuscitò.
Unbelievably, through a legal mix-up, Diego was deported. I felt I had no choice but to take my sons and follow my husband, and I found myself right back where I started. Diego couldn't find work and became depressed and angry. Divorce followed. I got a job teaching a school and accepted that I would never leave. But that wasn't to be either. Mama brought me that she had cancer, and I knew she needed me. So I knew that I had to try to cross again. Against all my instincts, I tracked down my father, now a U.S. citizen, for help. And this time, he came through. He took my 2 legal sons to a hotel in Southern California to wait for me to cross. But the fear that my father may not have changed consumed me. I had to get there, and fast. My father hired a coyote who did drugs and tried to force himself upon me. When I resisted, he threatened to leave me there. Feeling helpless, intent on getting to my sons, I knew what I had to do. I begged him, please don't hurt me. Afterward, instead of taking me to the border, he fell asleep. I yelled at him, shook him, hit him, and finally he woke up. We got in the car and headed out, knowing the worst was just ahead. Now, after all that I had been through, my future seemed to shimmer like a mirage before me. Even if it vanished, I braced myself to follow it, no matter how exhausting, hoping to help Mama and make for my children and myself a new beginning.
Sanctus,
we drove to the border, then walked in the oppressive heat, searching for a place to cross a raging river and hopefully get past the border patrol. On our way, we suddenly came face to face with 2 Mexican police officers. Thinking on his feet, the coyote told them I was his pregnant wife, who needed to get to the US for medical attention. That story, plus a bribe, allowed us to continue. Just before dawn, we found a place to try crossing. Partially undressing to blend into the color of the water, we tied our clothing onto a stick, holding it above water as, choking and coughing, we struggled to the other side into California and our last great obstacle, an 8-lane freeway, which we somehow had to navigate. Quickly, we dressed and turned to face what seemed to be a roaring, hungry beast. He told me, "Ignore the cars and just run when I tell you." I knew that many immigrants before us died on this very freeway. I ran as fast as I could. Cars soared around me, horns blaring. At the median, I just froze, sobbing. Then, at the thought of my sons, I ran again. I have never been so terrified. And no sooner had I made it across, I rejoined the coyote when the border patrol spotted us. We ran toward a dry creek bed, threw ourselves into a drift of leaves, and, paralyzed with fright, watched flashlights flicker over us, saw boots come toward us and pass by. Incredibly, we had not been caught. He looked at me in awe and spoke. "This is a miracle, an omen that you will be successful in your life here." I couldn't stop shaking. But even then, the ordeal wasn't over. Many hours of walking lay ahead, filled with that now familiar, terrible thirst, heat, lacerated feet, and constant fear. Then, rising in the distance, I saw the hotel where I knew my sons waited. With renewed strength, I rushed forward, keeping my eyes on that hotel until I literally staggered in to kiss my sleeping children, truly feeling the power of God's grace in this blessed reunion. In the morning, my sons told me that no harm had come to them, and I felt such relief and hope that my father had really changed this time. I went straight to Mama and helped nurse her back to health. Just as I was preparing to start my own new life, still undocumented, I got terrible news that my father had been arrested. I was beyond horrified. And when Saul suggested he put up his house as bail, I had to tell them my old secret, and that our father most likely was guilty. Shocked and sad, we gave up all hope that his awful behavior was a thing of the past, and we could not, in good conscience, help keep him out of jail. With all that finally behind me, I began to settle into finding my way in America, to make a home and a life for my sons and for me. I applied for a job at an organization where I was promoted, and today I'm a manager there. I even was able to save enough for that family home I dreamed about. But I still look over my shoulder with fear, as, believe it or not, I still don't have papers. And fear of deportation overshadows my life every day. It can take 20 years to gain citizenship here. My older son, now 16, can start a petition for me when he becomes 21. In another 6 years or so, my goal of citizenship might be realized. It really shouldn't be this difficult, but this is my story, and the story of so many of my people and yours. Please keep us in your prayers. Keep us in your prayers.